Imagine waking up one morning and discovering the exact date of your death, knowing there's nothing you can do to change it. My name is Arthinox, and this is Cloaked Mysteries, the channel where time bleeds and the impossible breathes in the shadows. Now, imagine a man who predicted the most famous tragedy in history 16 years before it happened and no one believed him. The most luxurious ship ever built set sail like a dream and sank like a curse. Tonight, we descend together to where light can no longer reach to uncover what the ocean still tries to hide about the Titanic. The Forgotten Prophecy. In a little-known 19th-century novel, an anonymous writer described something that should have been impossible: a colossal, luxurious, unsinkable ship colliding with an iceberg in the North Atlantic and vanishing beneath the waves. The ship's name was Titan, and the story was published 16 years before the real tragedy of the Titanic. In the book, the disaster happens in April, 900 miles off New York, killing hundreds of wealthy passengers. Coincidence? Perhaps. But coincidences are rarely this precise. When the real Titanic went down, the world realized someone had already foreseen the inevitable. The author, Morgan Robertson, never claimed to be a prophet. He said he simply wrote what he saw while burning with fever. 4 nights on end, he described vivid visions of ice, screams, and darkness. Some say those scenes weren't imagination at all, they were memories the future had shown him. The result was the wreck of the Titan, a warning history refused to hear. The Golden Bracelet. Nearly a century after the disaster, divers exploring the wreck discovered a golden bracelet engraved with a single letter. The chain, decorated with silver and diamonds, looked almost new, as if time itself had feared to touch it. But who was M? No passenger of first class carried that name. The bracelet was later auctioned for a fortune, not because of its material value, but because of the mystery it carried. Was it a token of lost love or something far darker? Some believe it belonged to a young crew member named Amelia, who vanished without a trace. Others claim it was a gift never delivered, perhaps meant for someone who never boarded the ship. The letter M, then, might not be a name at all but a mark. A silent reminder of the secrets the ocean keeps. Proof that some stories don't end not even with death. The Cursed Diamond. Among the treasures locked inside the Titanic safes, rumors spoke of a single blue gem. Not an ordinary jewel, but a 45-carat diamond surrounded by legends of misfortune, the Hope Diamond. They said anyone who owned it was doomed to tragedy. And history seemed to agree. Plagues, executions, bankruptcies, and sudden deaths followed every owner's footsteps. From Marie Antoinette to the Hope family, none escaped its curse. When the Titanic set sail, whispers claimed the diamond was aboard, locked inside a steel safe. It was never found. Decades later, director James Cameron revived its legend in his film with the fictional Heart of the Ocean. But perhaps his inspiration came from something far more real. Some divers swear that deep within the wreck, they glimpsed a blue glimmer the years refused to erase. The clock that stopped time. Inside the pocket of a passenger named Sidney Segenary, rescuers found a rusted pocket watch. Its hands were frozen at 150 m, the exact moment when the Titanic began to break apart. Sidney had boarded the ship with his pregnant wife, dreaming of a new life in America. She survived. He didn't. That motionless watch became the final heartbeat of a man lost to the Atlantic. Decades later, the artifact was sold at auction for nearly £70,000. But the buyer took home far more than metal and glass. They took home the story of a single instant, the second when time itself surrendered to tragedy. Because in the depths of the ocean, time doesn't move. It watches. And Sidney's watch still marks the hour when humanity's pride was split in two. Echoes in the deep. When the Titanic was rediscovered in 1985, nothing was left of the bodies that had sunk with it. No bones, no fragments of flesh, only silence. Crushing pressure, salt water, and bacteria had devoured everything. But something remained: the shoes. Hundreds of pairs, scattered across the seafloor, still side by side as if waiting for their owners to return. Tanned with tannic acid, these leather shoes resisted decay. They became silent tombs, perfect molds of absence. Each pair marks the place where a body once rested for decades. And every image of those shoes is a brutal reminder the sea remembers better than the earth. Beneath 12,000 feet of darkness, the Titanic still walks step by step, soul by soul. The warning of the waters. Many believe the Titanic's sinking marked the end of an era. Only months later, the world plunged into the First World War. The ship that symbolized human triumph became a prophecy of destruction. It was as if the ocean itself had spoken. Arrogance has a price, and we would pay it in blood, in fire, in iron. The Titanic was built to defy limits and was consumed by them. Its sinking was not just an accident, but a revelation. A reminder that no matter how advanced our machines become, the sea remains the true king. And perhaps, if you listen closely to the waves at night, you can still hear it whisper. A murmur of steel and ice, telling the same story all over again. Titan Revisited. In 2023, a submersible named Titan descended to the Titanic's resting place. 5 people went down. None returned. Once again, the ocean demanded its tribute. The coincidence of the name Titan felt like destiny mocking us. As if the sea itself had recognized an old challenger. The vessel imploded under crushing pressure. But its purpose had been clear: to look into the past and face it. Instead, it became part of that past. Now the Titan rests beside the Titanic, 2 monuments to pride and ruin. 2 stories, separated by a century, joined by the same sentence to challenge the abyss. The eternal enigma. The Titanic is more than a shipwreck, it is a mirror, a reflection of our vanity, and of the fragility we hide beneath gold and steel. While its remains sleep in darkness, it still asks us a question: what have we learned? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps only that the future belongs to the humble. Because the seas do not forgive the gods we build for ourselves. Every artifact recovered, every story told, every forgotten pair of shoes, all are reminders. Reminders that time may erase names, but never meaning. And as long as someone continues to tell its story, the Titanic will never truly sink. It lives on as a warning, a scar carved into the soul of humankind. And like every scar, it exists so that the pain will not be repeated. The Titanic was never just a ship. It was a monument to human confidence, a floating temple built upon the pride of a civilization that thought it ruled the seas and fate itself. But the ocean has always had plans of its own. In the icy waters of the Atlantic, it returned to us the oldest truth: control is an illusion. No matter how much we try to tame nature, she never forgets who we are and where we came from. Every rivet, every golden room, every final note played by that doomed orchestra, all became silence. And in that silence, a lesson was born: the Titanic didn't just sink, human vanity did. The ship became a mirror, showing us our own fragility under the crushing weight of the deep. Because down there, between steel and ice, faith and wealth met and drowned together. What survived were not jewels or crowns, but stories. Echoes of lives that never imagined becoming eternal. Some say the Titanic sleeps peacefully, but those who have dived to its resting place swear the sight feels alive. There's a strange energy among the twisted beams of steel, as if time itself paused or began to watch. Some claim to feel a presence, not ghosts, but memories refusing to fade. Because when something so great falls, the universe doesn't forget. It keeps watch. Maybe the Titanic wasn't just a tragedy, but a warning. A reminder that every time humanity dares to challenge the vast, the sea, time, or the cosmos, there is always a price. And perhaps every wave that touches the invisible hull of that sleeping giant is a silent prayer. A confession of guilt, a whisper for forgiveness, a sigh rising from the deep. As if the ocean itself were saying, "Remember me and do not repeat." That's why the Titanic still sails. Not across the sea, but through the collective conscience of humankind. Every time someone speaks its name, a piece of that night breathes again. And with every human tragedy born from the same pride, it's as if the ship once more departs Southampton toward oblivion. But the ocean, patient, eternal, is always waiting. So when you gaze at the horizon and watch the water move in silence, remember this. Far below, 12,000 feet beneath the surface, echoes and memories still live, secrets time itself was too afraid to erase. And perhaps, if you listen closely enough, You'll hear the whispers of those who sleep in the deep telling, once again, the story of the ship that dared to challenge the gods. Comment below. The sea keeps the memory of man. And if you believe that the past still speaks to us through the shadows, subscribe to Cloaked Mysteries. Here, every story is a doorway, and some, once opened, can never be closed again. Im Arthinox until the next descent into the depths, where silence has a voice.